There are some games that don't just exist in memory, they echo, whispering in the back of your mind like a dream you're not sure you had. Or maybe wish you didn't. Legacy of Kain. Soul Reaver was one of those, and now, it's back. But before you get too excited, this isn't a complete rebirth. There's no shiny reimagining or massive overhaul. What you're looking at is a light touch remaster, a restoration, not a reinvention. A ghost of the original, now rendered just clear enough to see again. And yet somehow, that might be perfect. Because Soul Reaver was never about looking clean. It was about feeling corrupted. It was about stepping into a dying world with broken gods and rotting empires, and discovering that your very existence is a mistake that demands correction. This version brings back everything that made the original matter. And yes, that includes the rough edges. The stiff animations, the clunky movement, the silence between echoes. They're all still here. But so is the heart, the soul, the haunting stillness of Nosgoth, the way it presses down on you like a fog that never lifts. For returning fans, it's a melancholic resurrection. For newcomers, it's a test of patience and curiosity. But the question remains, can an old game still haunt you in a new age? Or has time finally buried it for good? Let's find out. Nosgoth was once alive, a land where empires rose and withered, where the divine walked among mortals until divinity decayed. At its center stood Kain, a vampire lord, ruler of the damned. He wasn't just a king, he was a god in decline, and beside him, Raziel, the firstborn of his lieutenants, the most loyal, the most gifted, the most loved. But power changes everything. One day, Raziel evolved. He stood before his master with wings unfurled, glorious, seraphic, unnatural. It should have been a triumph, a gift. But in Nosgoth, change is betrayal, and gifts become curses. Without a word, without mercy, Kain tore the wings from Raziel's back. In one motion, he stripped his favorite son of glory and cast him into the abyss. Down there, time forgets you. The world forgets you. Even your body forgets how to be whole. Raziel didn't die. He dissolved, burned into oblivion, dissolved, in regret, and yet something pulled him back, something ancient, something hungry. Raziel rose again, not as a vampire, not as a man, but as something twisted between the worlds, a soul without a body, a fury without a heart. Now he walks a land that no longer remembers him, with vengeance in his bones, and a whispering blade forged from his own torment. This isn't a journey of redemption. This is a crusade of wrath, and it begins with a single question. What do you do when your god betrays you? Raziel doesn't carry a sword, not at first. His weapon is instinct, rage, claws sharpened by betrayal, and when he strikes it's raw, visceral, but not refined. The combat here isn't graceful, it's brutal, awkward, and old-fashioned. You slash, you strike, you hope it connects. There's no parry, no flourish, no combo meter or precision timing. And yet when it works, there's weight behind every kill, because vampires in this world don't just fall. They need to be ended, stun them, then drag their twitching bodies into sunlight or impale them on jagged spikes. Drop them in fire, drown them in cursed water, watch them burn, thrash, vanish. Each death feels earned, not from skill but from ritual, that's the thing. Combat in Soul Reaver isn't fluid, but it feels deliberate. Like every blow is more about the symbolism than the spectacle. And here's where the remaster earns. Quiet praise, analog stick support. It's a small update, but it matters. Raziel now moves with a fluid grace the original hardware never allowed. You can fully rotate the camera, explore with intention, and finally feel like you're in the world, not fighting against the game to stay there. Still, it's clunky, sometimes frustrating. And yet, there's something oddly hypnotic about it. Oh, and when you kill an enemy, their soul doesn't just fade. It floats, pulses in the air, a glowing wisp of energy that Raziel must absorb to stay alive. You feed on the dead, on the lost, on echoes. And whether you notice it or not, that mechanic says everything about the world you're in. What if the world you see is only half the truth? In Soul Reaver, death isn't the end. It's a mechanic. Raziel can shift between the physical realm and the spectral one, toggling existence itself like flipping a switch. In the real world, he walks with weight, with form, but in the spectral, he becomes fluid, ghostly, unbound. Walls melt, doors vanish. Pathways once hidden stretch into existence. It's not just a gimmick. It's the core of the game's soul. Sometimes, to progress, you must die, or let go, or slip between the cracks of what's real and what's imagined. This mechanic redefined what puzzle solving could look like back in 1999, and somehow it still works today. But not everything ages gracefully, with world shifting. In brilliance comes crate puzzles and more crates, and then just for fun, some more crates. You'll push them, stack them, drag them into place at glacial speed. It's not clever, it's not thrilling, it's a chore. The game offers small aids, a compass here, a faint map there, but the design is still tethered to the late 90s. That means long stretches of silence, awkward geometry, and lots of backtracking. Still, the shifting mechanic keeps you curious. You're not just solving puzzles, you're decoding reality. And that makes all the difference. If the first game was a broken hymn, then Soul Reaver 2 is the second verse. Cleaner, clearer, but no less haunted. This time things move with more confidence. You're given proper checkpoints, finally. No more punishing restarts, no more losing progress for wandering off course. The combat? It's still no masterpiece, but it's less rigid, a little more bite, a little less clunk, and the blade. Oh, the blade. Raziel's Wraith Blade now evolves with elemental powers. Fire, air, light, darkness. Each element opens new pathways, changes the way puzzles unfold, and deepens your role as not just a wanderer, but a force. The world still feels strange, alien. Timelines bend, realities twist. It doesn't explain itself right away, and honestly, that's part of the magic. It's not trying to be safe, it's trying to be eternal. Soul Reaver 2 doesn't rewrite the rules, it sharpens the edges of what came before. And in doing so, it lets the story flow more freely. Right into something deeper, something darker. But this is still Nosgoth, still cursed, still waiting for your next move. Firing up Soul Reaver Remastered is like unlocking a memory. One that never looked quite this clean, but somehow feels exactly the same. With the press of a button, you can shift between the old and new visuals. It's instant, seamless, and strangely poetic, like Raziel himself, caught between two forms of existence. But don't expect dramatic changes. This isn't a remake, it's a restoration. The lighting is sharper, the edges are crisper, but the decay, the shadows, the haunted atmosphere, that's untouched, and that's the point. This remaster doesn't erase the game's soul in pursuit of gloss. It preserves the grime, the gloom, the Gothic beauty that made Nosgoth feel like a forgotten cathedral, half sacred, half ruined. Character models got the biggest upgrade. Raziel, especially, finally looks the way your childhood brain always imagined he did. Smooth, spectral, elegant in his suffering. Kain, too. More regal, more menacing. It adds emotional weight to every cutscene, especially the ones you remember. Frame by frame, the environments, they're mostly the same. Low-res textures peek through, flat walls remain flat. But somehow, it works. These places were never meant to be beautiful. They were meant to feel dead. And in that sense, they still do. Technically, the performance is solid. No crashing, no stuttering, just clean, consistent gameplay. Whether you're playing in the present or glancing into the past. So no, it's not a visual marvel, but it knows what it is. And that quiet confidence, that reverence for what came before, that's what makes it powerful. You don't keep playing Soul Reaver because the combat is tight, or because the puzzles are rewarding. You play because you need to know what happens next. Because somewhere in the distance, past the crumbling temples and spectral gateways, is another vampire, another secret, another betrayal waiting to unfold. This is a game where curiosity outpaces convenience. You'll tolerate stiff mechanics and repetitive design, not because they're enjoyable, but because the world refuses to let you go. Raziel's voice, with its sorrowful weight and haunted cadence, draws you in. His narration is poetry soaked in regret. And then there's Kain, monologuing like a fallen king trapped in his own prophecy. The dialogue doesn't just sound good, it resonates. It echoes with a Shakespearean flair, each line heavy with fatalism, legacy, and doomed divinity. Beneath the fangs and the fantasy lies something painfully human. The fear of being betrayed by your creator, the hunger to reclaim identity, the war between purpose and free will. This isn't just a vampire story, it's a meditation on destiny, on what's left of a soul when the body no longer matters, and it was all written by Amy Hennig. Before Uncharted, before she revolutionized cinematic storytelling in modern games, she gave us this. A Gothic world thick with atmosphere and philosophical weight. A story that doesn't hand you answers, but invites you to search for them, one whisper at a time. The writing, the performances, the world building, it all works in harmony, not to entertain, but to haunt. And decades later, it still does. This isn't just a remaster, it's a resurrection, Soul Reaver 1 and 2. Remastered doesn't try to rewrite history, it preserves it. Rough edges and all. You're not just getting a cleaned up game, you're getting a digital time capsule. A relic of a time when games were strange, ambitious, and unafraid to be poetic. The extras, they matter. Concept art, lost levels, unused scripts. It's like digging up the bones of a forgotten cathedral and finding it still humming with energy. For longtime fans, it's a quiet gift. For newcomers, it's an invitation into a world where nothing is simple, and every silence has meaning. No, it's not modern. It's not slick. It creaks under the weight of its age. But it still speaks, and what it says and is worth hearing. So, is it worth playing today? If you're chasing polish, maybe not. But if you're drawn to storytelling that lingers, to lore that whispers, to a legacy carved in shadow and soul, then yes. 1,000 times, yes. But now it's your turn. What's your Soul Reaver story? Did you start with Blood Omen? Did Defiance break your heart? Drop your memories in the comments. I want to read everyone. And if this video brought something back for you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who still remembers Nosgoth. Some games entertain, others impress. But Soul Reaver, it haunts. It drags you through broken worlds, faded memories, and fractured destinies, and dares you to feel something. Not just thrill, not just fear, but loss, power, purpose. And maybe that's why it still matters, because in a gaming world, obsessed with perfection, Soul Reaver remains defiantly imperfect and utterly unforgettable. So now it's your story I want to hear. Were you there when Raziel first fell into the abyss? Did you fight through Nosgoth back when memory cards were your only salvation? Drop your memories in the comments. Let's bring this world back together. If this video stirred something in you, hit that like button, share it with someone who still remembers Blood Omen, and subscribe for more games that matter. This wasn't just a review. This was a requiem, and you were part of it.